The world we live in today was built on dreams that are powered by people. Now, I'm not just talking about the technology or trends. At the core of everything that we ever want in life and everything that we'll ever need in life comes from either ourselves or someone else out there. 100% of your relationships are with people. 100% of your customers, employees, or bosses are people. 100% of the help, love, and attention you receive are from other people. If you don't understand people, you don't understand life. If you don't understand people, you don't understand business. Great leaders and successful individuals know that the key to understanding and influencing people equals power. They know that these connections with other people is critical to one's success in both their personal and professional life. But we live in a fast-paced world with competitive workplaces and turbulent economic conditions, and other people often do not readily and comfortably reveal who they are. But what if there is a way to read people like an open book? An easy method for you to scale and amplify the success that you already have with people to captivate any group of audience or even just a single person. A tool for you to read the unspoken and the underlying motives when dealing with others. A powerful yet easy to use system to scale your most important aspect in your life, to win with people. With this tool, you can go after the job that you want, the relationship of the life that you want, and get it. You can even take your profession or the intimate relationships that you have and massively improve them. You can almost take any situation in your life and make it all work for you. All this can work and will work only because you have now understood how to read people and subsequently learn how to captivate and positively influence them. The system that I'm talking about is the Chinese art of face reading. Hi, I'm Joey Yap, and I'm going to teach you this system in this training video. I'm going to share with you the shortcuts to hack human behaviors based on an age-old metaphysics system and the secrets for taking charge of your interactions at home, at work, and in almost any social situation. In this 4-part training video, you will learn the first ever comprehensive art of mianxiang or face reading and use it to captivate and influence anyone in your life. So stay with me in this program, download the accompanying notes, and let's begin a completely new approach to building connections and winning with people.
Practical, funny, with a lot of humor, and very human. I think he's very, very human in his kind of teaching and very easy to understand.
I like Joey's teaching style because he's very practical. He gives shortcuts. I love his style. He's very straightforward. He's the best in the field that I know.
Joey's teaching style is very interesting simply because he's able to communicate to you directly the data that you need. So it's very easy to understand. The keyword is very easy to understand and absorb everything.
Now, if you're still watching this video, that means you are here because of one of the following 4 reasons. Number 1, the first group of people is what I call the professions group. You're in a profession or a business that requires you to deal with people on a daily basis. It could be you're in human resource, sales, or maybe even you're the CEO of a multinational company. You want to know who these people really are in the inside, and most important of all, what influences their behavior and what makes them tick. Or perhaps you're challenged when it comes to identifying and dealing with difficult or manipulative people. Now, if you're in the profession group, you know that understanding people equals power. The second group of people are called introverts. Now, a show of hands, how many of you consider yourself introverts? How many of you are so introverted that even putting up your hand becomes difficult? Me too. A lot of people didn't know that I actually belong to that category, although you see me standing on stage presenting to a lot of people, but that is just what I trained myself to do. In fact, that was one of the main reasons that mooted me to actually learn face reading in the first place. Now, if you're an introvert and speaking or communication isn't your main thing, or you feel awkward at networking events, probably thinking of what others are thinking about you, well, you're in the introvert group. So you really have a problem in getting to know people, trying to fit in, breaking the ice, making a good first impression. You're not great at conversations, and therefore you need to find a better way to understand people and how to subtly influence other people. Now, let me assure you, face reading is easier than you think. You can speed read facial features and use them to predict people's emotions. The third group of people are called the empathetic group. Now, the empathetic group are people who are trying to help someone that they care about but unable to do so by conventional means. Someone under your care, for example, could be silently suffering from depression or struggling with self-doubt or pain. You could also be a life coach or mentor or teacher who needs a better way of engaging your students. Or it could be your spouse or your partner who you deeply care about but just fail to understand on a deeper level. Or perhaps it's someone close to you but is either too sensitive or too unapproachable or outright stubborn, causing all forms of communication breakdown. Now, if you didn't resonate with the first three groups, that means you belong to the last group of people. I call this group the humanistic group. Now, you're in this group because you're someone who are interested generally in human behavior, and human psychometrics absolutely fascinates you. You want to know if someone is honest or dishonest just by reading their face. You want to learn all the non-verbal communication, reading the micro expressions, all forms of physiognomy, just to understand who we really are or how we're different and why are we here. And one of your goals and purpose in life is to learn an art so that you can guide and influence other people to a better future. Or perhaps, ultimately, you want to be able to tell someone's destiny just by reading the features on his or her face. So there you go. These are the four groups of people. Either you belong to the professions group, or you belong to the introverts, or maybe you are part of the empathetic group, or perhaps the humanistic group. Now, most, if not 100% of the problems that we have in this world are people problems. Our lives are filled with many challenges. All of us struggle with personal problems such as stress, depression, self-doubt, addiction, worries, and our health, finances, and maybe about our future. Our relationships with our partners, children, and other family members are often riddled with conflict, and our relationships with our friends, neighbors, bosses, and co-workers are often challenging as well. Well, all of these problems are complex and their solutions elusive. Yet they share a common link, a common denominator. For the most part, they are all caused by human beings. Well, most of the problems that we face within ourselves or our relationships with other people and in society at large are caused by people. Granted, a few of these problems don't require human collision, like tornadoes and earthquakes, for example, come to mind, but most do. Human behavior is by far the single largest cause of difficulties that each of us experience in life. Now, most problems are people problems, and the people who cause our problems are quite often us. This training series is made up of 4 parts. I will be releasing these 4 videos over the next couple of days, so you must take note of the link that you're watching this video in and check in regularly. Now, if you fall under one of the 4 groups that I mentioned above, you're going to be finding very specific information that will only be applicable to you. The way this 4-part training is designed is going to gradually take you deeper into the century-old vast topic of Mian Xiang, the art of face reading. Now, a few important things that I need you to take note of before we begin. Your mission, should you choose to accept, is to do the following 4 things before I can give you this free training on face reading. Number 1, there is a private Facebook group that we've set up to supplement these training videos. I want you to pause this video right now, find the link in the comments above or below this video and click on it. I'll be sharing some training debriefs, additional live Q&A videos and downloadable goodies in that Facebook group. Now, if you're not on Facebook, then all you need to do is to save or remember this link that you see on your screen right now. It's joeyyap.com/winning. Number 2, in each training video, there will be downloadable training notes. I want you to download them right after watching these videos. These notes will save you a heck of a lot of time when you want to recall important information. Number 3, I want you to pick up your phone right now and take 3 photos. 1 frontal view of your face, 1 of the left side, and another of the right side of your face. This will allow you to see and read your own facial features as you go along with this training contents. Last but not least, number 4, you need to find someone to practice face reading with. So invite a friend by sharing this video and get him or her to share with you the 3 face photos that they have taken. And the 2 of you or the 3 of you can go through this training video together. I promise you, you're going to learn a lot about them than you have ever imagined. And who knows, through what you'll be learning, you'll probably reveal something that Dave never knew about you too. Sounds good? So, let's begin. I speak to more than 50,000 people each year at my live events. And I have my own annual TV show. Each year, I'm invited to speak on networks such as CNN, Bloomberg, and CNBC. The number 1 thing that gets people excited and never fails to fascinate them is the subject of the art of face reading. Man has been fascinated by the study of physiognomy since the beginning of civilization, and the Chinese have been researching, analyzing, and practicing the art of face reading, also known as Mianxiang, since the time of the Yellow Emperor, and that is somewhere between the years of 2698 to 2598 BC. Well, it's an art born out of the observation of the physical appearance of a person, the shapes, the lines, the molds, the bone structure, the features, and even the qi color on a person's face. Now, Mianxiang is based on a branch of Chinese metaphysics also known as physiognomy. The art of Chinese face reading shares similar foundations with the art of feng shui, or traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture, that has been passed down through the generations and still is a thriving art today. What they found was that a person's physical appearance, especially on the face, is a reflection of what's really on the inside. But before any of you should take a leap of faith and blindly jump into face reading, let's take a cold, hard look at some truths and why we'd even be remotely interested to experiment or to test this on our lives. I want to address some of these concerns right out of the gates. Now, we've been taught not to stereotype or to discriminate people, and that making judgments of people in general means you're not a nice person. Now, I'm sure that most of you would have heard of the old adage that never judge a book by its cover. But I want to ask you an honest question here. Was there ever a time that you thought to yourself, damn, I was wrong about that person. I never thought that he'd be that sort of person, and surely it doesn't look like he'd do something like this. In other words, was there ever a time when you were wrong about someone? If you had, that means you do judge, whether consciously or unconsciously, by appearances. There are 3 big reasons why we behave the way we do. Firstly, humans are instinctive by nature, and our instincts are designed to keep us safe and alive. Our ability to recognize threats and dangers have always been ingrained in our DNA, and this includes recognizing threats from other people as well. Secondly, technology itself. Think about this. In the Facebook and Instagram era, it's very easy to create a perception or a face that you want others to see. There are over 7 billion people in the world, and there are only 2 things that a normal person can be differentiated from. Number 1, his or her face, and his or her thumbprints. Even our phones uses these 2 parameters to unlock our innermost secrets to our eyes. As human beings, we are phenomenally great at recognizing faces. Most people, or most of us, are probably bad with recognizing names, but if we put a face to it, it changes all the dynamics. And with the available technology today, we're seeing more faces in a single day compared to an entire year of someone living in the 20th century. Think about how much time you spend just on social media alone. Technology has tremendously increased our need to filter out people who matter and people who you think will not. It's just the way things work now. Thirdly, it's the society that we live in today. On a personal level, we could have thoughts in our minds that goes like this. He looks like a scumbag. Well, she looks like a gold digger. Or he looks like the scheming type. Or perhaps, she looks like she's kind. The list goes on and on and on and on. So the question here isn't really about whether or not we are judging other people. The question really should be, are we doing this with the right skills and tools that deliver the correct information to us so that we are correctly reading what other people are actually thinking about, what their motives are, and more importantly, how we could positively influence them.
I find it very interesting actually. If we don't have a person's birth data, we usually base it on the face first, whether we want to know if the person is sincere or not. It is very powerful in the sense that being able to get the hindsight of what kind of the person we are faced with. So when I applied face reading, I found that it was easy for me to deal with people whom I would be interacting with. It's easy for me to try to avoid people who I don't want to associate with. As they say, face-to-face is always the first base to any relationship, any encounter, in any activity. I can say that this thing applies.
During the days of the Imperial Dynasty, face reading was one of the sciences deployed by the Chinese strategists and imperial advisors to give guidance and strategic advice to the emperors. These advisors, who are Chinese scholars, would analyze and give detailed insights to the emperor before he decides if you want to even meet that person, so that he'll know what to say or how to say something to the other person. The art of face reading was very, very important at that time because although the Chinese scholars have other forms of destiny reading, such as Chinese purple star astrology or the 4 pillars of destiny or Bazi. I'm sure some of you have heard of this before. But you know what? During imperial times, documentation was their biggest problem. A lot of these people back in those days didn't record their time of birth, or they just don't even know their date of birth. And even up to today, I'm sure you might have friends or people who were born in the 40s or earlier who just don't know their time of birth because it wasn't recorded. So if you're one of them, this art is perfect for you because the ability to accurately forecast a person's character, nature, and destiny without the need for the date and time of birth. And this brings us to the first lesson: a face never lies. In the old days, you didn't even have to submit a CV to get a job at the Imperial Magistrate. Let's face it, how many of you actually believe everything you see on someone's CV? Now, I'm not saying that you discredit CVs or track records entirely. Now, I'm just saying, what if you had a tool that helps you confirm something of far greater value? Some things that aren't even possible in expressing in writing, in numbers, or in black and white. Some things such as values, character, or even personality. I'm sure you really want to know if the person you're about to hire or about to work with has good nature, is compatible with you, or really is a good culture fit. These are intrinsic values that are not easily distinguishable or judgeable based on one's conversation or just from a written test. Now, even big companies and prominent business leaders today agree that they hire based on character before skills and talents. I like this system because, sometimes it's really less intrusive than really asking someone's date and time of birth. And amongst all these studies of Chinese metaphysics, Mianxiang or face reading is by far the easiest to learn and apply. An astrology chart or a Bazi chart can be wrong because there were no records or because it was inaccurately recorded, A CV can be fake, a question-based personality test can be easily manipulated, or an Instagram or Facebook profile can be too biased and too easy to be selective, and an interview or a conversation can be riddled with probably lies and deceit. But the face never lies. I call this part the canvas of destiny. Now, we've established that we are all ready to learn face reading to a certain degree. So let's look at what we can tell, or at least been trying to tell, based on what we see on a person's face. Mianxiang, or face reading, encompasses techniques of assessing facial features. Just so you know, it's not just the Chinese who sought to develop this science of face reading. In ancient Greece, Hippocrates was amongst the first ever in the world in recorded history who sought to develop this very, very special art. Then, of course, there was Aristotle in his books. He too discusses the methods of evaluation on a person's character from reading facial features. Just so you know, there is a main difference between Chinese and Western face reading techniques, is that Chinese face reading techniques goes beyond just personality traits and character. Mianxiang, or Chinese art of face reading, also examines a person's talents, character, and even Qi level. On any person's face, what you'll find is a systematic map of a person's destiny. According to the art of face reading, the entire face itself is divided into 100 points. A 100-point analysis is known as the Pak Sui To, or the 100-age map. These 100 points relate to, as the name implies, the ages from 1 to 100. Every face is also divided into sections or sectors that govern different personality traits, character, talents, so on and so forth. So there are things like the 12 palaces. 12 palaces, for example, would be things like a wealth palace, a children palace, a relationship palace, a health palace, and also a career palace, so on and so forth. So there you go. So this is the canvas. These are the working parts or the components of the art of face reading. But my goal here is not to immediately turn you into an expert in face reading. Eventually we'll get there, of course, but the goal in lesson 1 of this training video is to do two things. Number 1 is for you to identify the types of people who are good, who have great capacity, who are able to help you, so that you can associate yourself or to get connected with them. And the second purpose is to avoid the bad apples, to avoid those that could cause you harm, to avoid those that could be of deceit to you, who could bring you down. So if you can do these two things by the end of lesson 1, I think you've succeeded. So let me show you. So let's talk about noble people, or looking for noble people. Now, there are two perspectives for this. If you see the following features that I'm about to share with you on yourself, that means you must learn how to activate this nobleman feature in you. If you don't see this in your own face, you don't have this noble feature, doesn't mean you're a bad person. Don't worry about that. It just means that you might want to look for other people that are close to you who, have these features. The more you have these people closer to you, these people can inspire, motivate, and help you get to where you want to be. So there are 3 key points I'm about to share with you to recognize nobility in a person. The first noble feature is called the Life Palace. Now, there are many ways to read the Life Palace, but according to the ancient face reading text, it has the following saying: 看相必須看明公，明公在亮眉中. Translated in English, what it means is to start face reading, first start by analyzing the Life Palace. And the Life Palace lies between the eyebrows. So the eyebrows, so between left and right eyebrow, there is a space right here. This space right here is called the Life Palace. Now obviously everyone has a space between the eyebrows, but here's the trick. The first part is 2 finger space. Now check it out, 2 finger space. Your fingers, okay? You don't put someone else's fingers on your face. 2 finger space between your eyebrows right now. Try this out. And you want to be able to press it a little bit so it's fleshy. Remember, if it is bony, it's like you do it and there's like no flesh, that you can't do this at all, it's not a good Life Palace. So you want to check if it's fleshy, okay? And you want to ensure that there are no lines. Sometimes there are frown lines there. Now, if the frown lines on the side, it's okay. Frown lines right in between, that actually attacks the Life Palace, not so good. If you have 2 finger space, The space is broad, there's no moles, there's no scars, there's no discoloration that is on here. That means you have a very good spacious life palace. Now, life palace represents the quality of life, and the quality of life represents what you see in the inside. So if you're looking at someone's life palace and it's broad and spacious, what you see is someone who is optimistic, someone who has a vision of the future, which is positive. You want to have someone like this because generally they have good outcome or they are generally luckier. Now, this is a little bit tricky because if you look closer to someone's life palace, sometimes you could see a little bit of hair growing in between the life palace. Just a wee bit of hair, right? Sometimes even there's a small line that grows across that damages the life palace. Now that means there could be some hidden, maybe frustration, hidden pain, silent depression. So we like it to be spacious, 2 finger space. If it's 1 finger space between the life palace, this person could be a bit narrow-minded. Some people have 3 finger space between the eyebrows. 3 finger space meaning the life palace is really broad and really spacious. What does that mean? Someone who's pretty generous with life, right? You don't want to find someone with like 4 fingers or you put a whole hand in between the eyebrows. Now that is a too broad life palace. I mean, normally someone in that sort of space is not so smart, yeah? So, not too broad. If it's too spacious, you're gonna have a big problem. That's first step, looking at the life palace. The second key point is to look at the person's eyes. Now, the eyes in Chinese face reading represents the heart. Now, what does it mean by represent the heart? Well, literally represents the heart. Someone who has a good heart will have a good set of eyes. What does it mean have a good set of eyes? This is what it says in the classic literature. 黑白分明是事成. The white and the black, meaning the pupils and the white part of the eyes, is very clear. The moment it is clear, everything that person do is very smooth and fortunate. So if you want to know whether someone is going through pain, you want to know someone that is in love, where do you think you're looking? You look at the person's eyes, right? How do you know someone is happy? Some people may not be smiling, but the eyes are smiling. The spirit in the eyes. That's why in the Chinese art of face reading, it's called Ngan San, the spirit or the energy of the eyes. If the eyes are lighted, energetic, it tells you someone has got good fortune, someone who has everything going his or her way. But if you see the eyes, it's like, oh, it's really dull, and eyes are really slow moving. Usually they're going through a bad patch or they have difficulties. When someone's looking at you, the eyes have to be straight. If someone looks at you like, let's say from side all the time, yeah, I'm talking to you. Yeah, it's like this. So it's always a side gaze and never a frontal face. You have a problem. That person is not being truthful. So that's another sign of nobility that you need to take off. Face reading art number 2. Alright, now nobility feature number 3, look at forehead. There's of course high forehead and low forehead, and then of course you may say, yeah, but someone's forehead is high if my hairline goes all to the back, right? No, this is not a forehead. This is your top of your head. Forehead is just in front, okay? So usually for a guy to have good nobility in terms of career, or basically a person who's responsible, have a reasonably high forehead. So a good forehead is about 5 finger space. I know what you're doing. You're putting a thumb here. This is a thumb, it's not a finger. This is a finger, okay? Put it here this way, all right? So if you can fit 5 finger space, you have a broad forehead. But this is for guys, okay? For girls, for ladies, 4 is enough. No 5, okay? For ladies, only 4. If you can fit 5, you're a lady, that might be a little bit of a problem, okay? You see, the higher the forehead, the more responsible, more careful, and normally you shoulder very high-ranking positions. Now, if the forehead recedes backwards, sometimes you look at the side, you see the forehead recedes backwards, they are quick thinkers. If you look in the front, it sort of protrudes in towards the front. Now that's not what we want, because they think too much. They overanalyze on stuff. Yes, they know a lot of people, but they don't ask for help. That's the big problem, okay? So look at the sides a little bit. This one represents how many helpful people you have in your life. So if this part is protruding, a lot of people come to your aid whenever you need it. So if you look at your friends and this part here is fleshy, and now fleshy means there's 2 finger space between the hairline and the eyebrows. usually these people can find helpful people as and whenever they need. Now, if you have a lower forehead, it's just that, it's not that they're stupid, okay? The lower forehead means they do the things they like to do, and lower forehead people like to do things instead of doing thinking. They like to take action on them without asking consensus from other people. Usually that's the case. So these are the three features you start out with. So let's recap. Life palace, the eyes represents the heart and soul, and nobility and reliability on the forehead. Okay, start with these three things first. The strategy is to keep the good and noble people near. Okay, the next part is I'm going to show you how to detect those that might not be so advantageous to your goals and to your personal life. Maybe they're even hazardous to your health if you have them too near in your life.
I think it's one of the subjects that's easiest to enter, to be able to see someone without asking awkwardly, what's your birthday? Like they will be asking like, why are you asking? But you could actually see whether the person is trustworthy or how would you be interacting with that person. So I think it's the easiest way to connect with somebody, and I love people, so I like to connect with people, so then that will be easier entry for me.
So actually through face reading, you can decode someone's personality and you can understand if someone can meet your expectations by just simply observing his face.
I've just been so convinced. I have such good experience with Joey, with his Bazi, with his Chiman Feng Shui. I've done it for quite a few years, following his instruction. And it's been working. It's always been working. So I'm not skeptic at all.
Now in this part of the lesson, I'm going to talk about how you could avoid working with certain people that may not be so advantageous to your goals and to, of course, your personal life. So I'm going to share with you the top 3 to stop the bleeding. So the first one is the nose. Now, in the art of face reading, according to the text, it says, 鼻頭有肉，心無毒. In English, it means if the nose is fleshy, the heart is not poisonous. So conversely, if the nose is not fleshy, you gotta take note. Not that everyone who doesn't have a fleshy nose is gonna be a bad person, but you need to take note of the secret verse that is written in the face reading classics. It says, 鼻有三彎，其人必奸. It means that a person whose nose is bony and looks like a witch, that sort of nose or an eagle beak nose, usually is associated with someone who would gladly take advantage of other people or at other people's expense. If it's crooked but it's fleshy, not a problem. If it is crooked and bony, you gotta take note. That is the first feature. The second feature, it's the eyebrows. Now, the eyebrows talk about a person's inner character. It's about whether that person's characteristics is easy to work with or not. Now, if you have the following features, then maybe you need to learn how to control your emotions, or maybe you need to work on yourself a little bit more. The first type of eyebrows is when the eyebrows, the tip of the eyebrows, point upwards. Usually that person could be temperamental or has emotional outbursts. In a relationship, that could cause problems because maybe they have lack of maturity over his or her own emotions. But of course, this can be fixed. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're saying, oh, I'm going to fix this means I'm going to pull out all these eyebrows. No, pulling the eyebrows just fixes the eyebrows. It doesn't fix the character. What you need to do is fix the character from inside out. You need to look at your personal temperaments, your emotions, and learn to better manage your emotions. Now, if you see this in your potential business partner or someone you're about to work with and you are someone that don't like drama, well, then you might need to reconsider your working relationships. Now, the eyebrows are very important. It also talks about money management. If someone has very poor eyebrows, well, what do you mean by poor eyebrows? That means the way the eyebrows are is that the hair grows in a very messy way that's up and down, eyebrows, they crisscross all the time. So if the eyebrows itself is not growing in a certain direction and it doesn't look neat, for example, it reflects a lot on the personal finance of that person. Meaning that person, when it comes to numbers, maybe he doesn't like to look at numbers, maybe he's not so good about managing numbers. And the third feature I'm about to share with you is to observe the mouth. The mouth represents communication. It represents things that people say, besides eating, of course. Look at the tip of this corners here. Sometimes people have this corner going downwards. Like when they're not talking, not eating, it just goes like that. it denotes that the person generally inside is a little bit pessimistic or maybe unhappy, or maybe there's a silent depression going on. Or, observe this, look at the way they talk, okay? Sometimes they talk, their mouth moves sideways, okay? They are normal, but the moment they talk, it goes sideways, or they do this, okay? These are generally people who like to talk about faults, talk about why things don't work, or overanalyze on stuff that generally make them unhappy or make other people unhappy. So if you want a happy person or a person that is positive or say positive things, then this might not be someone that you want to work with. Of course, management is very important. You got to manage this sort of people. So if you are not into babysitting, then these are the people that you might want to avoid long-term partnerships with. Now, I got a lot more of these features, both positive features and negative features, and I can't fit it into just one training video. So what I need you to do now, remember there are 4 things that I begin with that I needed you to do. The first one was getting into that private Facebook group. Well, be sure to get in there because I'm going to do a live Q&A. I'm going to be sharing with you additional topics and content on these 2 positive and also negative features. So you're going to get additional content in there. I need you to get into that private Facebook group. So leave a comment for me in the comment section below. So let me know if you enjoyed this session and what would you like to learn, and I'll try to fit this in our lesson 2. And of course, remember there's a set of notes that come along with this lesson, of course. Please download that notes because those notes contain stuff like the background information, a little bit of history, and of course a lot of techniques that I probably didn't fully cover in the program itself. Download the notes and read it through thoroughly. And if you have friends and family who you think that would benefit from this training, please remember to tag them on this video or share this video with them. Lesson 2 will be released in a couple of days and it will completely change the way you look at someone. Till then, stay tuned, take lots of photos of faces of people that you meet and live passionately. I'll see you in the next lesson.